Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Ray and Jay Odyssey. I'm one of your hosts, Ray. Across from me,
Coach.
and as you can see on the screen, we're back to God of War. Last time we left off, we were stuck in this one spot forever, and it was just a lot of trying to survive with these enemies. Finally got through, and we had a pretty good discussion going. So we're going to start up, and Coach, you have a topic of discussion tonight.
Yeah. It's been alluded to that of the three of us, and I know Jay's not here, but
You will hear from him soon. Don't worry, he will come back.
yeah, him and his fiance are trying to do something called being together by themselves and stuff. I get it; they're lame for that, but yeah, we'll give them their time, their space. Yeah, yeah. All the cool people are in here.
Yeah.
Look at us playing a game from 21 years ago. Like it never left of relevance.
Oh god, oh god, oh god.
I just said 5 seconds of stuff and you're already dead. What the heck?
Listen,
I didn't even get to say my initial sentence.
listen. Just continue.
Okay, if you will let me. So, we've all been in the education system. And we've had a lot of problems with it.
Yep. Yep.
And I think it's time that we speak on some of those problems. But I also I don't want to keep complaining about matters if I don't provide any means to fix it. So that's just kind of how I'm going to go about it. You can feel free to speak however you'd like, but first, you get past this.
Okay. Too soon. Too soon. Ah, man, once you're caught, there's no getting out of that.
Got it. So it's just like last time.
Yeah.
We're going to have a lot of restarts in the beginning. So I guess I'll start off first.
Yeah.
While you try to figure this out. Oh. What? Oh.
I didn't know I could do that. I was trying to swim away, and he just kissed her.
We got a feather.
It happened to say, pleasing the naiads will sometimes give magical gifts. So that happened. Anyways, Coach, you were saying.
Yeah. If I can get past this while being disrupted by this, it's
No. It's right there. It's right there. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
right. Anyways, naiads, we've come to bargain.
All right.
Got the feather.
So I know how to get that.
We're gonna keep getting kissed, I guess.
Okay. So I'm just gonna chill right here. Go ahead, talk.
Okay. So, my very first job was an after-school program teacher, and I did that for 1.5 years. Now, you start off as a substitute at first, and when I was fresh out of high school, that was kind of where I was heading to go because I had a friend there that was, previously worked there. Really thought I'd be really good at it, and turns out I was ending up working with one of the coordinators of the of that school that I was into as a child.
Yeah.
So I went from student to worker underneath this person.
That's interesting, fella.
Yeah. So I kind of know what it meant to be a good student for that program.
Uh,
And I also knew what it looked like to be a good teacher for it. Now, if you ever thought that a substitute teacher was going to get, how the heck do you keep falling into the same exact pattern?
Because it doesn't let me swim any faster. Go on.
So if you've ever, well, what about the feather?
I'll get it later.
You say so. So if you've ever thought that being a substitute teacher for a normal classroom was like not giving you enough proper respect, try being an after school one,
Yeah.
where you literally have no discipline to give to them outside of things. You can't even really give them extra assignments
Yeah.
that they like have to focus on. And for the school that I was enrolled in, it was, oh, you're almost there.
I was so close. So close.
For the school that I was enrolled in, for the most part, because I bounced around from different schools within the district that we're close to. But this one was a K through 8. And when they needed substitutes for this one, we got to have like a good amount of time with each individual grade.
Yeah.
And I really like that because it forces you to change your outlook on how you see your students.
Yeah.
Because you are not going to teach a kindergartner the same
way.
method as you would an 8th grader. So you have to adapt to them.
Right.
Which means that you have to make those adjustments. Make it.
It's such a large gap from the next one.
No. So if you've ever wanted to know what it was like to deal with the kids on both ends, you really had to learn them. And you got to be cautious because you're still dealing with a classroom, like,
Yeah.
and you can't be friendly with them
Right.
because you're not there as a friend.
Okay.
Like you still have to be an authoritative figure. However, you can still kind of use that occupation as a pedestal to be a role model.
Yeah.
And when you go with different grade levels, you end up with different assignments in order to hold those classrooms. You get the runaround for different security measures and stuff of that nature. Like you got to make sure that you are in a position to be able to protect any of your children in case any sort of like medical emergency or outside interference emergency were to happen. That was your worst attempt yet.
Yeah.
So there's a good amount of pressure to be really good at it. Yeah. And I kind of noticed that there were some other people in a similar situation that they were just kind of there. Which really makes you wonder, like, how do you even end up accidentally in this situation? Like, there's a lot of checks that you have to go through. Like, not just your background, but also like the process to get signed on. Okay.
Did they just eliminate it altogether?
What are you doing?
I'm seeing if the platform.
Oh,
I'm not seeing it.
okay.
Oh my! They did that on purpose. And look how long that was.
So then there must be a pattern to it, right?
Okay. Okay, so it's like every 4 seconds. So yeah, you're thinking like, how do you fall into this?
Yeah, because
And my God, do I feel that?
there's so many hoops that you have to go through
Mm-hmm.
in order so that they can trust you with an amount of kids that aren't yours,
Uh-huh.
and for at least 4 hours during the week on that particular day. So you'll end up with these. Whoa! How'd you get that speed boost?
What was that?
I think you used it too early, man.
Yeah.
But
Because it's just this. It's all this. So there's all these checks you gotta make. You're having to be in charge of all these kids.
and for my position, I was in front of them for about 20 hours a week. So that's a lot of influence over the course of a month,
That's a lot
over
of
the course
responsibility.
of a semester. And the thing is, as starting off as a substitute, like you could be there in that classroom for just the one day. You can be there for like a week. You could be there for 2 months. And then I finally was in a position where it's like after a couple of months into it, I finally had a classroom of my own. And that's when I like really felt the weight of the job because I'm like, hey, like this is no longer somebody else's that I'm having to take over. Like now this is mine.
Yeah.
And when I was given that at the ripe old age of 17, I
Yeah.
it was quite a tough task, especially when like my first classes were like 5th and 6th grade.
Yeah.
And which like those kids were like what, maybe like 7 years older than me or 7 years younger than me.
Right.
Like that is such a small gap. So in that sense, there ain't no way they're gonna respect me.
Right.
Like you are way too young to try to step into these shoes in this one. When like the last couple of people, you know, at that point they were in their 30s, they were in their 40s, and like these are older people that like already had families and stuff like that. Like these are well-adjusted people. However, what they didn't have was that capacity to care. And I could tell that like at some point the people that were previously there, and I don't know them, so I'm not calling anybody out specifically, but it just seemed like I was stepping into a place that had a long line of distrust. And when you have that responsibility and going into it, are we ever going to get past this thing?
I don't know. I don't know.
I'm getting distracted because I'm like, I want to see if I can help you out here, but I'm sure you've already been trying everything, and yet there's no lesson to be learned here.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're doing wrong. I don't know what's supposed to be done right. Like I thought that we would have to time it differently. I thought that there was a gap that was able to.
Yeah, because the last time I was sitting there and they're taking forever to come by, but it's every 4 seconds. I don't know if that was just a glitch or what.
You know what? Knowing you, it's anyone's game.
I was too high. So yeah, you're vastly different age difference from no. big age difference between you and your coworkers.
Yeah, and a very small age difference between the students that I had.
Right. So it's like if they're having a hard time respecting the ones older than you, how much of a chance do you have to get the respect of these kids?
And if I stayed in that mentality, then I definitely would have never had it.
Yeah.
But over time, I adjusted to them, therefore they adjusted to me. And that was a really unique thing to figure out.
Yeah.
Because like that classroom had like 23 kids in it, and only a few of them were like, all right, yeah, I mean, I guess we got to be underneath somebody. Well, we might as well let it be you. Ooh, nice.
So they warmed up to you.
And then I was taken out because I had somewhere else to be. And then the real test came. Oh, there we go.
There we go.
I know.
Yeah.
So then the real test came. How would they adjust to the next person that would take over for me? Would they give them the same lack of benefit of the doubt? And
So they did.
I, from what I gathered, they did not. They kind of resorted right back to their ways. It's like, oh, hey, fresh meat, let's try something else. But then, when I came back, they seemed to go back to adjusting.
To you.
Yes. And I think one thing that got on their side really quickly was that, like, I was not going to be so quick to punish them. And
Yeah, a lot of teachers think that.
it's like, God, I'm sure that we can talk this out. I'm sure that we can have a conversation. Because if I don't think that you are worthy of having a conversation to talk out like your situation, your problems, then it kind of shows on my end that I don't have enough respect for you to see your side of things.
Right.
Which is a horrible way to lose your faith. Especially into the people that wanted to support you.
Right.
So it's like, hey, if they wanted to be on your side, you're not giving them that validation that you are worthy. And by taking different people's issues on a kind of a case by case basis, like I'm not bundling them up in any sort of way because it's way too small of a group to really feel like, oh, it's too much. All I have to do is just think of you as like problem category number 1, problem category number 2, and if you fall into these ones, well then here's your basic solutions or whatever. Like, no, I want to see what this kid had in particular, what this was going on, what did it look like for them internally, because their actual teachers are never going to get that close to them. So they may be going into a situation where, like, they've had, their 6-hour day, whatever it is, and like, and then they have to spend a couple more hours with me.
Yeah.
I'm not getting them fresh in the morning. I'm getting them after they've already had like a day of, whatever potential problems that happened during school. And I'm stepping into a lot of situations, 23 new situations that I have no context for. And I can't get too much context for. Yeah. Aphrodite. Aphrodite? I don't think that's it. Amphora.
Okay.
Or Amphitrite. Poseidon's faithful wife will forever watch over this cursed room. Only she knows the secret way out.
Okay. Great. There's a secret way out of here. Okay.
So when you have a classroom like that, and like the tough part is you also got to learn their schedules of when they're going to get picked up, because they can leave sometimes like 10 minutes afterwards, and then you learn nothing about that kid. Other ones, like the ones that you would hope to get picked up in 10 minutes, oh, they're there for hours.
Yeah.
So then that should teach you in that position something different.
Yep.
Now, there are a lot of different conclusions to draw from, but I think what we've kind of been talking about in previous ones is like the responsibility of the parents.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes, like, for example, I was there in that program as a kid because I had to wait for, my family to be done from work. Because sometimes they wouldn't be done until about 6 p.m.
Yeah.
So in the meantime, I had to be somewhere in a place that they could trust.
Right.
And if I knew that going in, being a teacher and stuff, hopping into that other role, I had to do that for them. Because at the very least, whether it's 4 hours, whether it's 10 minutes, they need somewhere to be where they feel safe and trusted. And the faster you can provide that to them, the quicker that they will adjust to however you are as a teacher. And for me, I was like, 17, 18. Like, I was still learning myself.
Yeah.
But I also knew that if I took enough time to handle their issues, I could learn some things about myself a lot faster. Because these are newfound problems that I'm going to have to take with me and be like, hey, in the possibility that I see these kids later on in life, how did I get to be? Like, what did I end up doing afterwards? Because at some point, I had to leave that place. Mostly because the payment sucked. Like, okay, for a first job, out of high school, something like that, like the pays wasn't that bad. It was about 1,000 a month, which, when you think about it in that terms, like that's pretty good.
Yeah.
For a part time, like. But I also knew that like my colleagues, my coworkers rather, uh, they were there as a means to like a second job or like something else in between like their college courses or things like that. Like you could tell that they would be distracted by other things in their life.
Yeah.
And I think that for me, I was in a very unique position where it's like I had nothing else to distract me. So therefore, like my full attention was on them. My full attention was on each of those kids, and I think they sniffed that out fast. It's just that they can't really acknowledge it.
Right.
So when I finally got kind of like my own classroom, which was shared with the other actual teacher that would be there. At some point, I ended up having an assistant. That assistant was sort of like a job shadow. From like one of the nearby colleges. So they would kind of like watch over what I do, and then kind of learn from me. And it's kind of crazy that that was the case because like I'm now teaching the person that's older than me like how to do something like basic level.
Yeah.
But that person, that assistant, uh, they didn't have the same authority as me, which means that like if I had to step away from the class, like I couldn't leave them alone with the kids.
Yeah.
But that didn't mean that I would have every means of opportunities to be there for the kids. Because, you know, a lot of different situations will come up, right? Like, one kid will need to go to the bathroom. A couple of kids will then need to go to the bathroom. I'll have to take the entire classroom out to the bathroom break, and then that one we're all together. That way, it's not like some are in the classroom, some are outside, because then that will cause chaos. It is a massive wooden door. There's a lock on the door that has been carved in the shape of a minotaur.
Sure.
But then, you know, I'm gonna look at the clock and realize that, like, oh, well, certain students are gonna get their homework time interrupted because of this situation, and they're about to be picked up soon. So, like, yeah, they have a problem with that, and they have every right to have a problem with that because now someone else is taking away their time to actually like finish up their work during the program where it's like it's designed to help them with that.
Yeah.
So then that kind of makes me feel irresponsible, not knowing that I had other responsibilities that I had to prioritize, and that like there is a strict set of ways to go about that that like nobody can really adjust to because that's just the way of safety. So like in some parents' eyes, I will look like I'm doing good. In some other parents' eyes, I will look like I'm like neglecting them. And it's like, guys, I'm doing the best that I can with the circumstances that all the kids in total are giving me.
Right.
One of those parents had decided to use me as a means of like crashing out.
No.
And it was about like this one girl that was kind of having like a down day. And it seemed like she didn't want to be bothered by me. So I'm like, hey, I'm just kind of leaving her be. And if she wants to be around friends, I'll let her do that because it seems like, you know, I'm not gonna get rid of her support system if she needs that.
Right.
So why did this parent why did her mom decide to throw a whole tantrum about how I didn't solve her daughter's problem? In which like I didn't know I could solve it. And then I later hear from her, from like the girl herself, and it was something that was during school. So she confused me for actually being the other teacher, just decided to go full rampage on me. Mind you, she was dressed as a cop.
Okay.
And I'm like, uh, ma'am, I'm 17.
I'm not supposed to be here.
Well, like I am, but also I am the substitute, so
Yeah.
kind of. But no, the very next day, like that other girl like apologized to me. She said like, "Hey, like I'm sorry, like I'm like I'm not gonna take it personal."
Right.
You just kind of have to give them that calm demeanor about their things, and like because I really don't want it to like mess them up further.
Right.
Like, hey, I'll handle this on my own time. I'll handle this situation because like now I can laugh at it.
Right.
But like in the meantime, like I will shake it to my core.
I bet.
Uh,
It's like, what do you do?
like what am I gonna say? Say that she's a bad parent? That is a death wish waiting to happen.
Right.
I'm gonna do that meme where it's like objective survive. But no, like that showed a level of maturity on the girl's part.
Right.
Um, and I've also and I used that opportunity to help out another kid because I then had another kid. This was in another school, another class, another grade, etc. But I'm like, hey, I kind of know what it was like when I ignored it. Not like fully ignored it, but like allowed them to kind of process this on their own.
Yeah.
So let me kind of go ahead and see if I have what it takes in order to step in. So I saw this kid. You know, we were outside, we were doing recreations, and normally this kid would be like, you know, just normally playing with everybody else. And you know, and as I'm the teacher and stuff, like I also have the opportunity to kind of join in on the games, or you know, at least like observe, be a referee or whatever.
Right.
Like, and that's like another fun part about my job is that not only did I get to participate in the games, I also got to create games for them to try out, and that really worked with my Hades challenge. You should make blood sacrifices on his altars before you can pass. Do you accept? Yes. Like it was really good for me to like a few months before I got on. Well, at this point it was a little bit longer, but I had a game design course in my senior year. So I'm like, oh, finally, I can kind of use this already.
Right.
So I was making some games. Of course, like the popular game is Fortnite. So how do I incorporate something that like a lot of the guys, or you know, a lot of the boys like pretty well, but also have it in a way that like a lot of the girls will also get equal participation.
Right.
So I did a Fortnite style capture the flag, which meant that whoever had a flag, you know, like they each have two flags. And I kind of split them up because at this point in the day, like I had an equal amount of like boys and girls. And I'll be like, hey, I'm going to set up cones around this area of the field. We're not going to go past this. We're not going to go past these cones.
Yeah.
Because that's going to be our out of bounds areas. And we're essentially playing a game of like, I don't know, some sort of tag or whatever. But like, I think how I did it was one student had two flags. Everyone else had one.
Yeah.
Because I kind of ran out of materials.
Okay.
But I didn't have a lot of cones. So I'm like, hey, each of you guys pick a side. You guys pick one of you to have two flags on. And you guys are going to be the ones, and everybody else is going to protect them. Right. If you do not protect the one person with two flags, I am then going to reward the other team with the for the next activity.
Yeah.
And so that got everybody's competitive spirit going. And then meanwhile, I would kind of have I would set a timer, and then I would move the cones closer and closer and closer, because that's how Fortnite works. Yeah, it's like, all right, we're gonna give you a big area, but then we're gonna shrink it and shrink it and shrink it. All right, how well can you protect your friends?
Yeah.
So that ended up being a pretty intense game. And I'm glad that it worked out, because there's really no kind of boundaries. But yet a lot of the boys would then help the girls understand oh, hey, this is what it means in the game to do this.
Yeah.
And that offered a unique way of them communicating with each other.
Okay.
Because now they're on an even playing field.
Right.
Literally. I'm sure that you can say and argue that oh, but athletically or whatever that case may be. I don't care. Sure, the boys may be more athletic on average, but the girls got brains.
Right.
I'm they can straight up outsmart them. And they'll just run and waste all their energy. And meanwhile, the girls can conserve their energy, play tight and unique. And then I can't remember who actually won. Which I guess lets you know how close of a contest it ended up being.
Right.
Because it's not one of them just completely dominated.
Right.
And then afterwards, hey, they wanted to do it again. All right, well, we're going to do it for next Friday or whatever, So now I got them excited about something that I then created for them. They were able to just talk naturally to each other. They were able to showcase how they would be in trustworthy situations.
Right.
And it was a very unique bonding experience for everybody.
Of course.
And I bring that up because I don't see that anymore. I don't see things like that being properly implemented. I don't see situations where the girls can go up to the boys and have a conversation about the rules of the game, or vice versa, or just let them be in a manner where they can speak freely, because it's not a personal thing. It's something that's neutral, and it's something that, if done right, will involve everybody in a good way.
Right.
So I just don't know how many examples there are out there of situations like that occurring as a teacher. And yet I was always trying to look for ways. I was hey, how do I get everyone involved? So I kind of have been thinking back to those things. I'm the reason why I left that place is because the pay, long term was awful. Right. I just couldn't sustain off of that, even with the expense of living at home at the time.
Yeah.
Because I quickly then became the house's breadwinner. With my next set of jobs. So our family needed me to provide better financially and doing it faster, because everybody was getting up there in age, and their capabilities were kind of catching up to them health wise. And so I'm hey, I'll do it. I'll step up. And then I was kind of in that position for a number of years, and now we're here. But if that wasn't an issue, then I would still be doing something like that. And I would still be making sure that the kids of today can have an environment where each of them feel needed. And I had a diverse course of children, because we're in a very ethnically diverse area.
Yeah.
So that is not lost on me either. Sometimes there were language barriers that I just didn't really know how to overcome. Nevertheless, like even those kids that I couldn't really like talk to on that same kind of level, they saw my actions and that was good enough for them. So anyway, I kind of go back to like was the one kid that was like really having a down day again, which was fairly unusual, and he would kind of sit on the wall of one of the classrooms outside, and just kind of like watch everybody else play. Now, granted, he was doing so in the shade. It's not cool. And he was in a spot where it's like if I had to join and talk him or talk to him, then I'm still observing everybody else.
Yeah.
So all I did was kind of like leave my post for a second and just sat down a couple feet away from him. And as I did that, of course, he started to notice, like, all right, why are you here?
Yeah.
There was a little bit of that pushback at first. But what I decided to do was just kind of let him see that the decision that he did inadvertently was helping me out. I wanted him to know that, like, oh, hey, cool. You're sitting here. I want to sit here. You're making sitting here look good. I'm like, hey, I'm in the shade. I'm in the good spot where I can kind of sit down and do my job.
All right.
Like, this is great. Thank you for this.
Yeah.
Let some time linger. So then I asked, I know that it's good for me to be here. How is it good for you to be here? Sometimes when you just straight up confront them, you make it seem like what they're doing is a problem. You make it seem like they have to get in line with everybody else. Like, I need you back over here doing what I need you to do. Like, no, like, if you want to sit down and rest, like, you can sit down. But I also see that you got a face on. And it's a face that, like, I don't know if I can help, but I'm going to let you know that I'm going to sit down here and figure this out.
Right.
Like, just give me the opportunity, and maybe I can't, and maybe you've already figured that out. But I won't know that unless you talk. So he then opens up about like his day and how his family's been kind of on his mind and stuff, like some other issues going on. I'm like, okay, yeah, I can't control that, but I'm really glad you were able to share. Like, I know for a kid like him, like, it's very frowned upon to have those moments of vulnerability out in public. So I also kind of wanted to let him know that, like, hey, like, I don't think you realize how strong you're being right now. And I'm not talking physically. I'm talking a more important type of strength. A strength that once you are aware that you have it, you're not going to want to let go of it. Because your real muscles will eventually fade. And however strong they're going to be, however much time you invest in them, they're going to fade. They're never going to get to like the same level of strength for the rest of your life. It's just not natural at this stage. But if you can show yourself mentally strong, that should always be with you. And just simple conversations like that can really have a profound effect on a kid. Because then, like, I got back up, I had to attend to something else, and then I went over to another group, wanted to play another game, and he was right there behind me wanting to join. And then it didn't take long for him to like the game that I was doing, which was football.
Yeah.
Because like we didn't have opportunity to play football a lot, just given the grades that we were.
Right.
So when I had like a grade that was like old enough, and if there was enough of them, and I made sure that they were like actually tackling each other and hurting, like, yeah, I'll let you guys play. You just gotta let me be quarterback. So
Okay. I'm just throwing them in the circle. I don't know what's going on.
but yeah, I've had some other stories. There was another incident where I wanted to teach this one girl that like if you were simply crying wolf every single time something was upsetting you, it's going to lose its meaning over time.
Yep.
And in her instance, like she was being bothered by two other students. And it's like,
Oh my god.
there was another circle.
I hate the camera view.
Hang on, you gotta get them closer. Oh, the circles are lighting up.
Yeah. I just didn't know this entire circle was over here.
Ah.
Like I'm killing them in the circle.
Well, I've been having to look away.
Oh my god. At least like pan over to show that the circle picked up right there.
Yeah.
I'm over there standing there. I'm like, okay, I'm killing them. Anyways, so girl crying wolf. What?
Like there was something that there was like some other students that were bothering her, and while like they weren't inherently saying anything wrong, it would be her reaction to get them riled up even more. So I'm like, I don't think you understand like that.
What's happening?
Yeah. And I'm not trying to directly say that it's your fault because, I don't want a kid to hear that.
Yeah.
For, something like an emotional situation like that.
Right.
But what I will say, I'm like, hey, how many words do you think you'll need to tell me to get them to stop? I kind of turned it into another little game.
Yeah.
I'm like, how many words do you think you'll need to... It's Groundhog Day. How many words do you think you'll need to tell me in order to make them stop doing what they're ending up doing? Yeah. And so I could see her like, she was trying like, okay, let's shrink this down to like 6 words. I'm like, okay, I think you can get there in a few. Got her to think about it again. Wait, what? You just fell through it! She took a word away, ended up sounding a little bit more caveman-like. But she got down like 4 words. And I'm like, I think you can go lower. And I'm like, it's fewer than that? I'm like, yeah, give it a try. And then she's just kind of like, all right, key points. That. 3 words. I think you can go lower.
The point you're trying to get to is like, don't say anything.
And I'm like,
Don't respond.
yeah, she kind of like, well, then I'm at that point, I'm not saying anything. I'm like,
Exactly.
yeah. Because there's a whole nother language that you can give to me. Simple eye contact. You can give me a symbol. You can, kind of point with your eyes or something like that. Like you can give me another means to let me know that you're being upset by them. Because it's really only when you speak up do they then try to make it worse for you. Because they understand that like we're poking a bear. And they like poking the bear. But if the bear stays asleep when they're poking it, they're going to eventually stop because they're going to be bored. Right? They don't find it boring by riling you up during the classroom. They find that entertaining. If you don't give them that satisfaction of entertainment, and I can still catch it, then you did the best thing you could. There you go. What the heck? Alright. What? So, I've had those stories that I was kind of holding on to, but how is it a war? How is it something that could be described as that? Well, the problem is that somehow, some way, over the course of the years, and it can be linked to a number of different outcomes, but certain students, around this country have lost their ability to learn in different ways. They've kind of been only using the one method of learning. Yeah. Which really sucks. Moving into the next generation, and the only way that they can learn is, like electronically or something like that. Like when you only give them that one method to try to like understand some things, and then when they're coming across something that's like older, that needs a little bit more experience, that eventually needs a real person, they don't know how to interact. So when I say these things, I come from a place of like, hey, I've been there before as someone that has like taken the time to not only like understand their homework, but I've understood like how their brain works. I've wanted to understand that first, because then I understand like how they learn. And if it's the only way, like if they only learn in one source, then that's not going to be beneficial. So I'd always look for ways to kind of teach them either by example or by actions or making something catchy for them. I don't know, like it's making analogies, it's making a drawing and like kind of giving them a unique interpretation of that drawing. It's a lot of different avenues of knowledge that they can take with them moving forward. And sometimes it's no longer about like the subject, because sometimes like, hey, I stopped being interested in things that I really should have been, because it was useful knowledge. But I'll tell you, I had so much fun learning the things that I liked that was completely useless. I got a lot of useless information. Here's an example of useless information. Using only straight lines, and when you write it out in the word form. What is the largest number you can write?
I have no idea.
The answer is 55. If you write it out in all capital letters, capital F, capital I, capital F, capital T, capital Y, capital F, capital I, capital V, capital E, there's no curves. Anything higher will require a curve, whether that be from the S in the 6, whether that be from the U in 100, whether that be from the O in 1,000. Like, that is the largest number. It stops at 55.
What do you do with that information?
I don't know. Tell it on Twitch.
Yeah.
Hang on. Or is it 59? I think it's actually 59.
Yeah, that's...
N-I-N-E. Man, if only there was someone else in the chat that would correct me on that before I got it. But that kind of gives me another a method. It's like sometimes you can provoke someone to learn for good. And I know that, like, sometimes for me, I will learn things out of pure spite and pettiness.
Yeah.
I can do research on something even if it's just for a prank. So when you take education and you make it fun, right? Like, you don't make it the same cookie cutter ways of going about your day to day. Like, all right, guys, open your text books and kind of learn through the paragraph and kind of call on a student and read assignment and all this other boring stuff.
Right.
I don't have the attention span for that. And it's only made even worse when you understand that later on, most of that stuff is equally useless.
Yeah.
Like, or at the very least, it's outdated.
Yeah.
Like, man, they were trying to shove so many statistics down our heads. And now none of them matter.
Yep.
So, when you kind of think in that level, like, all right, cool. If you ever have the self-awareness that, like, hey, the things that I'm learning right now, it's completely useless. But should that stop me from learning a different way to learn this? Because, you know, what if I turn this information into, like, either flashcards and make it into a trivia thing and make certain things, like, make it rewarding in another way? Or, you know, like, and this is the thing, I want other people to chime in and, like, give me other examples.
Yeah.
Because it should just be the one brain to be responsible for all this creativity. And it's not even like all that creative, because I'm not really, like, giving something that's new. I'm giving something that's, like, it's unorthodox, is what I'll say.
Yeah.
Yep. It's not the typical way that you would learn. However, all you need to do is change their motivation to try. Right? So once you figure them out, you figure out, like, your best course of action for them, and then education will seem very fun.
Yeah, and I mean,
And
that's...
And yet I was able to do that while not even having, like, a specific, you know, role in an actual education system. Like, yeah, I'm only an after-school teacher, but I still use that as an opportunity to do good for, you know, Who knows how many classrooms? Who knows how many kids on the long run? Who knows how many kids will take those lessons that I instilled at their impressionable age and feed that to the next friend that isn't in the program?
Right.
You know, do my methods stretch outward from beyond just them?
Yeah.
Because when the education becomes a positive butterfly effect, and then you kind of see like the rewards of like your own efforts. And that's the other thing too, is that like I may never see that. But that shouldn't stop me from ever thinking that it wasn't worth it.
Right.
Or that like, you know, they're not gonna need that in the future. Because they definitely will. And it's not even that like, oh, I didn't learn anything from that. Because I absolutely did. I learned so much about like not just them, but also about myself. Like a lot of this stuff I didn't know I had it in me. And yet when I got my own classroom, I was given the quote unquote bad class.
Oh.
It was the upcoming like 3rd and 4th grade class. And like in the previous semester, they made like 3 teachers in a row quit.
Wow.
So that is why they were considered the bad class. Because multiple teachers who have been in this program for longer than me have had them and like lost their minds. Like they were having crash out moments like in secret. And they were like, dude, I cannot deal with them.
Wow.
That was intimidating to hear. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, I finally have my own classroom, and this is what you give me first.
Right.
However, I had a good connection with the coordinator. I had a good connection with the person that was putting those classrooms in charge of food.
Yeah.
That was like the biggest challenge for me. That was like my ultimate initiation. Like, let's see how long you last here.
Yeah.
If you really think that you want to be this way, because at that point I was about 6 months into it, and then I finally got my own classroom. Now, with you knowing me,
Mhm.
how long do you think it would have taken?
Taken
For me to turn it around?
2 months.
It was kind of a little less than that, but like, yeah, that's the range. There was like 1 or 2 that like, no matter what I did, like they weren't gonna be on my side.
And that's fine. Like, you're always gonna have that. You know.
Yeah, you gotta live with the results.
Yeah.
It is. But the cool thing about this is that when I had enough on my side, they were then implementing my lessons to those other kids that like weren't trying to be on my side, because then they would know them, you know, during the school day, and I think that they would kind of make sure that I had an easier time. Because those kids, they wanted to be very annoying, they wanted to be obnoxious, they wanted to be disruptive, they wanted to be, you know, the center of attention, but also not provide anything of substance that would require them to actually have the center of attention.
Mhm.
So it's like they wanted to do certain things. They wanted to do certain things in order to stand out. But if they ever had it, actually, they wouldn't know what to do with it. And that was like the most confusing part.
Yeah.
Like, why would you want this?
Attention. They're not getting it anywhere else, so that's where they know how to get it. But once they got it, okay, what do I do with it?
And that's where the other students came in. With their help, they saw something that I couldn't. And it's like, yeah, I was still gonna have those other days where I'm like, yeah, if certain kids are having a rough day before they get to me, then it kind of affects the whole entire classroom.
Yeah.
But what I wasn't gonna let that do was treat it as though they were the problem. Um, so yeah, I would just kind of go about my day. Jeez. Watch your balls. Oop. But yeah, like once you learn that how to properly give certain kids like their space that they need to
Grow, to thrive, to learn.
or to really even cope
Yeah.
with the hardships that they had, and really get an understanding of their perspective. Because I think that was what was lost on the previous teachers. They just would refuse to see their side of things.
You're just a kid. Shut up. You don't have a heart. Oh my God. Shut up. You don't know what it's like to be an adult. It's like, as educators, as teachers, you forget what it was like to be a kid, to be that age, to go through certain things. There's so many changes you have to go through.
Yeah, and it can be devastating. And it makes it more devastating when you know that like you could have been in charge to help them before they experience something truly traumatic.
Yeah.
Like maybe all that they needed. 8 dead ends, one way out. Will you find it before the flames of Hades consume you? Pedro Verdes, the third, chief architect and loyal subject of the gods. Alright, so where do you have to go? All right there.
Doorways.
It's open. It's open.
Okay.
But yeah, when you stop treating them like people, they'll stop treating you like a teacher. Like it's really as simple as that. And I'm like, I don't know how you've been in this position longer than me and seem to have immediately forgotten that grasp. That should be like the core tenet of why you're there. Because I'm like, you're not there for the paycheck. The paycheck sucks.
Because people get into this because they're passionate about it, but they forget the why they were passionate. Why, Dennis, why did you do that? Why did you do that?
Again with these camera angles.
Yep.
There we go.
And I mean, I can really relate to what you had said about, people just falling into this position because, oh, you know what I do and how I've worked so hard to get where I'm at with my work.
Yeah.
And just before I was like officially certified and doing what I do at the pay rate that I'm at, so many people I've come across are like, oh, how did you get
I want to
this?
heal.
I can't.
There you go.
But yeah, so many people were, like, oh, I just kind of just started doing this. I kind of fell into this. It's something to do, something to fill my time. Like, what do you mean it's just to fill your time? It's just a paycheck. Like, no. Especially with what I do. Like, this is not something you can just do to hold off until you can do what you're really passionate about. You're either passionate about this or you need to go find something else to do. Because this will eat you alive.
Yeah.
It requires a lot of patience. A lot of patience. And, quick thinking like you did, Coach, of like, okay, how can I reach the people that I'm working with?
And you got to do it in the manner that appeals to them.
Mm-hmm. Especially that.
It's like, if you ever thought that a kid was going to follow the structures of the book that you were given to read, do you want us to keep laughing, or have you learned the lesson?
Yeah. And even where I'm working at now, there are some people who don't know what they're doing. And why they're working here, I don't know. And it's so frustrating. And it's like, Gator and I have been very passionate about this work. Something I've been wanting to do for the longest. And I was having such a hard time staying at a stable job, getting certified, doing all this stuff that I required, where someone was like, yeah, I'm only doing this until I can get my my license as a barber, or I can get into selling cars. What?
You realize that you're going to having an impact on the future in a way that you will never see, but you will eventually feel.
Uh-huh.
And I don't care what the scale is. The job is equally important.
Mm-hmm.
It's like whether you're a college professor or you're teaching kindergarten. you treat that with the same level of importance that it requires because you're responsible for people.
Right. You're shaping the minds of individuals, no matter the age.
And sometimes you're doing it at their expense. You know, sometimes like either it's them outright as like college students, or you know, it's the family that spend a lot of time making sure that they have the means to give their children the benefit of that advanced education, or you know, at the very least, like another place where they can feel like if I drop my kid off and leave them here for hours, they'll be fine.
Right.
Because you know, there's so many other like cities out there that don't even have that, and it's like if you have that ability to fall into this position and realize that like this is how good you should have it. This is how good that it should be for you as a teacher, as a potential leader, as like an extra role model for their life, because a lot of people are missing that right now. And then when they'll grow up and they'll realize that like how not like how important that you were, but how important the lessons that you taught them.
Right.
And you didn't even know it and they didn't even know it. But they can pick up things from you. And you can pick up things from them.
Right.
But you know, because the other side of this, of course, is like, all right, how about we just let AI be the ones to teach them? I'm not even saying that as hypothetical anymore.
Yeah.
Like it's actually
It's happening.
it's bound to be the norm.
Uh-huh.
And what the heck are you gonna gain from that? There's no reciprocity there. There's no way that like the AI is gonna learn that kid individually. They'll know data sheets or whatever, but like they're not like the AI is not gonna pick up on the kid having a bad day. The AI is not gonna pick up on creating a new game that's gonna be fun and in a way that's going to create that sense of community. There's no way that another one is going to be like, oh, I should treat this person different from this person because of this reason. When you implement the same level of cookie cutter style, you're going to get the cookie cutter results. We are not cookie cutters. We are not cookies.
Right.
We're going to have multiple dimensions to us. We're going to have a history going into that course. We're going to have a history outside of that course that will be affected by what happens in that room.
Yep. And at that point, you know, it's no different than what's happening now with actual.
You're not only dead, but not on the map, golly.
Yeah. You know, it's no different than what's happening now with, you know, regular teachers if they're not, you know, doing their job to the best of their ability. Because they might as well be AI because they're being heartless. Like, oh, this lesson you have to learn, this is how we do it. Not trying to reach the kid in a way that they can understand. Not trying to understand, like, oh, this isn't the way that this kid learns. He or she learns better this way. Like, that's not happening.
And the other thing is that, like, you can pick up on other teachers. Because also my senior year of high school, I was a teacher's assistant. And you would think that that's like the free A on the bingo card of a report card. But the teacher that I had made me earn it. I'm like, cool. So, you know, how do I set up the classroom? How do I make sure that, you know,
Oh, I was so close.
how do I make sure that he's got the control in the room even when he's not there.
Yeah.
And this is, to just grades a few, like a year or so, like just beneath me.
Right.
Where they think that they shouldn't be giving me that. Jeez. They think that they shouldn't be giving me that level of respect.
Right.
But it really doesn't take that much to earn it. And it's like, from a AI standpoint, that kid is never going to know how to give something else respect. So close. There's no way that a kid is going to look at either AI or a disgruntled teacher and be like, oh, I should respect that. And so therefore I need to understand like the lessons that they're trying to teach outside of the actual course. Ooh. Ah, no, you just saved it!
What's killing me is this stick drift.
Yeah,
It's the worst right here.
I wonder who would have done it.
No clue. No, it's probably Jay.
No, he hasn't even touched that controller the entire time we've had it. Oh.
Ah,
So, yeah, like there's the human element to learn. There's the human element to teach. There's the human element to like grow a fondness of your position. And there's a human element to care. And it's like, and I kind of see this in other aspects too. Like, I think we'll have another discussion about like either loneliness or depression. So just kind of be on
okay.
be in the mindset of that at some point.
That's gonna be rough.
But one thing I'll say right now is that, because I think that'll apply to here too. Okay. If you were in a room of about 20 people, like 20 random people, and you got up and you told a joke, and like 16 of the people that were in that room laughed at it. If you then say, I've got more jokes, would you like to hear them? And then some of them are getting on board, like, all right, let's see what else you got. That made you laugh. I'm sure you have more. You then proceed to say the same joke. What the heck? I thought you had more jokes. And then what if you, out of nowhere, were like, look, I gave you the jokes. I gave them to you in quantity. If you want jokes, why didn't the first one suffice? Now that goes from 80% of the room, like, liking the thing that you did, to now 0% of the room liking what you did. Because you were treating it as a simple course of like, oh, we'll just do this and just go this route. When, like, for something like comedy, it's so subjective. You really have to understand that person in order to get the other people to be on board with like your style of humor. And then I look at the way that, therapy and medication is treating something as serious as depression. And how maybe something like that, maybe their method, maybe that one like medicine worked for 80% of the people that one time.
What about the other 20%?
Well, not only that, but how do you know that the 80% only liked it once and they didn't like it the next couple of times because there was other hidden side effects? Because you never took the time to learn them individually and give them different paths from there to use their own minds for good. Like, if every comedian just told the same joke, if they just got up on stage, told one joke, and they'd be like, well, that's our show. If you wanted more, then I don't know why you're complaining, because that one was so good and got most of you to laugh. I don't need any more. If we were to treat depression and like therapy and these different methods in such a simple-minded, like straight, narrow path to a solution, just to give them something, that is no longer showing care in what they're actually asking for. What they're asking for is a level of variety, because they have different means of how they got there in the first place.
Yeah.
Like, the joke that you told might be funny for different reasons. The medicine that you gave them for their depression might be working for different reasons. Let's talk that. Let's figure out something from beyond that, because that can't be the only thing that you give them. That can't be the only thing that you're expecting them to want. Because again, it's going back to the same cookie cutter means of like learning. Why are we only learning things one way? Why are we only giving one path to a solution? And if that path doesn't work for you, too bad, so sad.
Yeah.
Like
Keep
now,
up with the crowd.
now all of a sudden your depression is incurable, and therefore
We can't help.
yeah, the most professional means and sources of that you were trying to trust suddenly abandons you because of the things that you tried weren't good enough for you specifically, but they worked for other people.
And suddenly, it's on the depressed person. Oh, you're not trying hard enough. You're not trying to get better.
So yeah, like something like that sickens me. Like, how did we end up with like a variety of comedians, but there's only like 4 paths to figuring out if you have depression? How are we so subjective and have different options for being funny, but then like the complete opposite of that has been like completely underaddressed, even though that like there's no means of like there's no research that you have to do to be funny. And when you really sit there and think about it, there's not a whole lot of research that you need in order to show someone that you love them. Sometimes that's all a person needs. And it's like, and maybe they've lost someone in the past that became that person for them. They lost that person, therefore they felt like they lost their anchor. That medicine, for example, is not going to be your next anchor. There's no reason as to how like this level of equal treatment is going to suffice for everybody. Like, sure, maybe the government will give us like both $3 in our bank accounts just for being good or whatever. I don't care what the reason is. They just decided to give like you and me $3 different dollars.
Yep.
That is equal treatment.
Yep.
And then they went to say, well, hey, Ray, we understand that you're disabled. Here's $3. If you took the time to really say that and say that that was the reason, what the heck is the $3? What the heck is the $3 going to do to your, your wheelchair status?
Yeah.
And for if it was like someone that was dealing with like mania or whatever and was kind of using like their means of oh my god,
They were so close.
If somebody was using like a means of spending money as like a coping mechanism for their depression, like maybe they just kind of use something like that to distract them. They buy the next thing.
Right.
Giving them money
is not going to help anything.
No.
because you're just
You're feeding into the reason as to why they're there.
right.
So I'm like, again, it's going back to like, how do you think that this is going to be a universal solution?
Yeah.
This is kind of like what we have in mind when they think that like money doesn't buy you happiness. Like, there's no amount of money that you're going to have that's going to give you that emotional support anchor that you've been missing in your life. If you were in that need of it, right? Like, maybe that can give you like a visit to a special like psychiatrist or therapist, but like,
Oh!
they robbed you from that. Oh, they're right there. Nice.
Okay, cool. All right.
It just crashed down.
Loose!
But like,
Yeah.
it's insane how that gets treated in that manner.
Mhm.
And that like there's no like additional precautions that are taken. You're like, hey, I don't even know what happened. Oh, you're right there. Cool. Good thing there's hidden checkpoints here.
Right. This way.
Is there another hidden checkpoint?
I mean, probably just right where I'm. Yeah. So it's. Oh my god! So yeah, like why do we treat every problem the same? Why do we treat so many things the same exact way?
And it goes back to our level of education, our level of effort there. Because like you're not willing to learn the person. You're only barely learning to like you're willing to learn the actual like symptoms or the side effects. Because you can't replace the cause.
Yeah.
The cause was either like intrinsically bound by that person's character, like from their upbringing, or it was such a traumatic event that like it can't be reversed.
Yep.
You know, I think of like did I just think that? I don't know, you're I think of like war veterans, for example. You know, they do so much sacrifice, and yet some of them will come back and have nothing to return to because they will no longer be the same person that they were there before. They can never be the same person before. And so, like, there's enough of that person that died with them in whatever circumstance that led them there, and there's no amount of treatment that'll get that back. And at that point, like, how do you know what they're missing?
Right.
You do the free thing and talk it out. You just do the free thing, the thing that only requires time. And when you realize that you're giving them time, like no matter how they act, because like sometimes a PTSD-ridden veteran will crash out in the same way as like a bratty third or fourth grader.
Yeah.
But if you let them know that like, hey, you're willing to stick around through that, and like show them that level of care that they've been missing, and remind them that they are still human, and not just like a death that should have occurred in a different country. They can't get all of themselves back. But you being in their presence can give them a new sense of self. What do you say? After this fight, we'll call it?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I don't know how long it's going to take you.
I got this.
And some people listening, they might say, "Well, I don't know how if I'm qualified to do that." Yeah, because like, sure, you could run the risk of making their situation worse if you're not like of the proper mindset.
Right.
If you feel like you're like legitimately ill equipped for that. Uh, but I also reckon that like you might not be in the immediate position to do this. So you can wait and learn about yourself in the same way. Like why do you feel ill equipped? Because I never felt like I was the best teacher at this because like I didn't spend enough time in the profession in order to like really have that like prestige, if you will.
And the truth is, in life, do you ever truly feel prepared for anything?
Not my generation. No, my generation happened, and all of a sudden everything was flipped on its head the second we became adults.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, absolutely. So you gotta do the thing. You gotta do the thing. Come on.
Oh,
Why did you not? Kratos, it was right there.
oh, oh! It worked anyways.
No, he just dodged it. I've been at my specific company for 6 months now.
Yeah, we're in May.
Yeah,
we started off in December.
Yeah, for almost 6 months now. But I've been in the field, a couple years. Do I feel ready? No. Every day it's something new, and it's always going to be something new. But that's okay.
It'd be worse if your day felt the same.
Yeah.
Because then that means that you're not improving on either your personal level or for that, the person that you're caring for.
Yeah.
And that's a day wasted for both of you.
Right.
If something is different, then like sure, let it be different.
Right.
But don't ever let it try to be the same.
Right. Oh, come on. I matched that. All right. How much magic and health this guy gives me? It's kind of hard to die.
Yeah, this fight suddenly seems very easy compared to everything else we've had to deal with.
Come on. The hardest part is that. You gotta time that right.
It's a timing thing?
Yeah. Because, like, he could easily get back to. Ooh, and look, he didn't really do any damage to me. I think you heard what I said. Back, you beast. Oh. Back, you beast.
Finally, there's a health bar.
Yeah, go ahead and just throw it around.
I gotta say, this is the most Kingdom Hearts I've ever seen this game be.
Right. But oh yeah, back to your point about like being a good teacher and stuff. You're leaving your students with something. I have very few teachers in my life that I had that I can think of like fondly that taught me things that I still use today. But there's also a lot of horrible teachers I have that left me feeling like crap. And really put me
Okay, yeah, you suddenly don't have a whole lot of health.
Ah. Let's see look how long it took me.
Look at how long it's gonna take you to get back.
Yeah, not that long. But yeah, I had teachers that got me into some really embarrassing situations for no reason. I have a teacher that said some things to me that still stick with me today in my head. And it was something that was out of my control. Yes, I know. Is there something that you can remember from a specific teacher? Or?
Yeah, but I've already done a lot of talking.
Like for me, one of the most embarrassing moments, second grade. My teacher wanted us to pull out our homework. I wasn't pulling my homework out fast enough for her, apparently. And she dug into my backpack, started pulling things out, which a lot of it was my medical supplies due to my disability, in front of my other classmates that I wasn't so open about. Did she get into any kind of trouble for that? No. I had to just deal with that. And all because I wasn't moving fast enough for her. Second grade. First grade, I had a separate reading teacher. And we had this folder that we needed to use for our reading log. Well, we would turn that into her, she would give it to our regular teacher. And at the end of the day, our regular teacher would give it to us so we could then take home and do our reading log. But if we had a substitute, the substitute didn't know to pick up those folders. And so I wouldn't get till the next day. The teacher would apologize and like, oh, here you guys go. I would try to explain that to my reading teacher. She wouldn't listen. And one way to find out what's going on would talk to my regular teacher. But did she ever do that? No. Instead, she called me irresponsible because something that was not in my control.
Yeah, because that's how you should be expecting your first graders to act.
Right.
Like more of a parent or more of the adult, the actual adult in the room.
Right. Like, lady, this basic communication. Talk to your coworker and you'll find out what happened. But no, you just think I'm lying and not going to do anything to prove that, one way or the other. So yeah. But some of my other teachers, 5th grade, really liked that guy. He was really cool. He was really funny. He was a big SpongeBob fan. And there were some days where he had us singing the theme song. 5th grade, that was when I went to science camp. He was there. And there was him and another teacher that were like really good friends. I don't know, maybe they flirted with each other. I don't entirely remember the situation. But I know that they talked a lot. And a situation happened where the other teacher was mad at my teacher. So he decided to be funny. And he says, all right, well, I'm going to go to the most honest student I know. And I'm going to ask him a yes or no question. If he says yes, that means he's on my side. He agrees with me. If he says no, then, okay, we know he's being honest. This teacher, you know what he does? He bends down and whispers in my ear, do you like money? So I start laughing, and I say yes. And he goes, see, he said yes. But he was that kind of guy. Whatever happened to him, I don't know. Because the year after that, he was gone from my school. Never saw him again. Which is a shame, because, like I said, he was really fun. 6th grade teacher. Oh my god, she was a nightmare. Now someone I can't land these. 7th and 8th grade, there was a mix between teachers I liked, some that I didn't. My English honors teacher, she was cool. Granted, when I first met her, I was, I want to say 3rd grade when she started at my school, and she was super nice. My brother and I met her at the after-school program. Super nice, whatever. 4 years later, when I got her, she kind of got a little bit bitter. But she was still a reasonable teacher. She had her moments where she realized, she needed to be tough. And you can't let these kids, walk all over her. But, she was fair. 7th grade math teacher, she just had a problem with everyone. She once gave me a citation claiming that I left the class early when I didn't. Don't know why. There was a group of students that did, but I was still in the classroom. Oh my god.
I don't know why they decided to have controller analog stick based stuff like this in these games. But these kind of mini games were running rampant in this time.
Yeah.
I don't really understand why, because it's not like the controllers got better.
I feel like they wanted to create more use for the analog sticks, but it's like,
We already have enough use for them because of the movement of our characters and the camera angle. Like, what else do you need? That's like one of the most important things.
I just need this last bit. Come on. Come on. This way. That way. That way. That way. That way. Go around. Finally. Okay. So now, you go here, pull the lever.
And you said it would take me so quickly to get you.
Hey, I was doing fine that first round. You have to admit that.
Well, in comparison to now, oh my gosh, you were amazing.
Yeah. All right, seeing as, yeah, it's falling off.
There you go.
Yes, back. Get back.
I had a seventh grade history teacher. That was also pretty funny. Um, I don't know why. It was typically the history teachers for me
Really?
that would be like the more funnier ones.
Huh. My history teachers were always kind of boring. I guess that's why I always never had interest in it.
And I really liked like his method at the time because he would essentially reward us like with his personality if we did better in the class.
Interesting.
So it's like, you know, the first couple of weeks we got to, you know, like experience each other being in the class and experience the class. Yeah. But then he would just throw things in there that would just be like having the class laughing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, cool. Like, all right, well now, you know, he's got us by the horns.
Yeah.
It's like he's got us right where we want him. And now it's the perfect time for him to be like, all right, if you want me to keep being this way, I need you to keep being good students. Simple as that.
Yeah. You wouldn't think that would work, but
It was almost like a free trial that he gave us into like who he was.
right.
And then, you know, time went on and just like we would get more information about him.
You want to know who was the most inclusive teachers for me?
Oh.
Yeah. That's kind of it.
Huh.
Take a guess. Which subject do you think was the most inclusive?
I can't even remember all the subjects. Is it like high school, middle school? What are we looking for?
Middle and high school.
Okay. So the same subject for both?
Yeah.
All right. English?
English classes were my favorite, just because I always loved writing, and when it came to creative writing, A plus every time.
Science?
No.
Math? Starting to run out of subjects that are pretty common. Was it like some sort of elective?
No, this was required.
It was different from history?
Mhm.
What else do we do?
There's a major one you're missing. Here's the major one you're missing. You said English, you said history, you said math.
I already said science.
Uh-huh.
PE?
Yep. Yep. PE was always inclusive for me. And just those teachers, middle school and high school, always tried. And it was never, it wasn't in the way that I see these days, where it's like, oh, okay, little Timmy, he's gonna have someone run for him, even though the, what they're playing on is, pavement, push himself in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Or, oh, someone's going to throw the ball for him, even though he has perfect ability to use his hands. My middle school gym teacher, he had, we played hockey and stickball. I was always the goalie. And it was more of a safety thing because if I am running back and forth, chances are I'm running some of these students over.
Or they'll knock you down too.
Or that. So they made me goalie, but they noticed that, like, given the wheelchair, oh, they can just go right under. There's no way I can, defend that. So it was very simple. My teacher got this big foam piece, strapped it onto the front with some bands.
Huh.
You could still score. You just had to be creative about it. So he found a way to include me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And high school, I met my gym teacher in between, learning classes. Because they were just kind of giving us a tour of everything and, showing us around. I didn't really get to, sit and do stuff, first day. But I ran into my gym teacher. She saw him. She's like, oh, are you so-and-so? I'm like, yeah. And she's like, okay, I'm going to be your gym teacher. So, okay. Is there anything I need to know as far as your limitations? And I said, you just let me know in advance what game we're playing. I'll let you know if I can be included. If I can't, give me some homework or, classwork to do on the side. So that way I can at least earn some kind of credit.
Sure.
And she's like, okay, could totally do that. Work with me. So, but anyways, I think we're going to stop here.
Yeah, kind of a good stopping point to have, so.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what was our recap for tonight's stream?
Well, we've had a lot to discuss tonight. But the main takeaway from this is if you are a teacher, a mentor, some sort of guide for the next generation, please remember why you got into that position. So if this is something you are passionate about, please keep that and find ways, unique ways to reach this next generation because they need it so badly. We needed it when we were younger. And just, I always tell myself this, and I want to pass that on to others, is be the person that you needed growing up. Be that safe space. What did you want from an adult when you were younger at those different ages? Think about that. And that can help you greatly in reaching these individuals. So remember, folks, lock your doors, lock your windows, travel safe, and don't die.
I had an after school program teacher that told me I smelled like Fritos.